All right, welcome back, you mob. And this episode is coming to you live from the hotel. So, I did promise that I would attempt here. We're just gonna adjust the stand a little bit. The stand, I don't know how I feel about it. It is good for what it is, but not as usable as I would like. So the search continued. I was just telling Autumn about this. This is kind of the real dark underbelly of the podcast is I now have like a wallet threatening gear addiction for audio equipment. So I am just kind of always looking for new gear and stuff for the podcast, and I've kind of started entertaining maybe I should buy some kind of Mac for the show, blah 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 blah. So it if you're considering starting a podcast and you don't have this kind of personality, well then you're probably going to be fine, but it is devastatingly dangerous for me because I already want to upgrade the audio interface and I want to get a booster, and I'm looking at new mics because like it would be nice to have the SM7B, but it seems like a lot of the podcasts that I listen to and really, really enjoy and kind of, I like the sound quality that comes out of it. Like We Mean Well and Ninjas or Butterflies, they use the Rode pod mic. So now I'm like, do I need a Rode pod mic? Is that what's happening here? So, but then I guess I got to look up, does the Focusrite give it enough gain, or do I have to buy a boost? See, this is the problem, is you just end up falling down a rabbit hole, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh, I spent a lot of money. Fuck. So this is kind of a trial. I don't even know if I'll post this, to tell you the truth, just based on what I want to talk about, but I want to see how the sound comes out in the hotel room, because like I haven't done any sound treatment at home for where I record the podcast, and it mostly comes out fine unless I, have the dryer running or leave the ice machine on. You can kind of hear it in the background, and not even that much since I switched to these. I stopped using the NT-USB Mini because it just picked up like everything in the apartment. So which one did I bring? Yeah, this isn't even the Samsung. This is the Audio-Technica ATX something. I don't know. I like the way it sounded better. Direct, like on a USB connection into the iPad. I guess we'll see though, because I tested that with the USB connection, not with the XLR connection into the Focusrite. So, oh no. And of course, last episode, that was the rare sober one. We're back on the piss. Shock horror. But like, I'm in fucking bumfuck nowhere, Alberta, with nothing to do but watch Clone Wars and drink. Basically, the Wi-Fi sucks. Like, I don't even know if I'll be able to upload this episode from the hotel Wi-Fi because it's such garbage. I might have to like actually go to a Starbucks or something. Which is 2023. I thought we were past these dark days of trying to find Wi-Fi, but I guess not. So fuck me. So yeah, moral of that story is like, obviously the hotel has no sound treatment, especially floor to floor, because I can kind of hear everything upstairs, footstep wise, and just kind of people moving around. But room to room, I don't really hear much. And Caillou was in the room next to me last week, and he said he couldn't hear fuck all when I was watching Clone Wars, and I was listening to Theo Vaughn in the shower and just like dying laughing. So I guess we will see when the rest of the boys get out here, because I think right now I'm the only one out here because Kai's off tomorrow. The one guy has a meeting, so he won't be out till tomorrow afternoon. The other guy stays with his parents out of town an hour away during the week, and then the other guy, I forgot to message back today, and I don't even know if he came out. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow when I get to site, because, oh man, what a fuck show. This job is a mess. But we'll see. I did bring the are we back to sound now? I don't know. We're just kind of ricocheting. This is obviously I did not sit down and make a script for this one, so we're just kind of playing it by ear, and whatever the boozy side of my brain decides is it's time to talk about. So, and you know what? I do have a couple topics in mind, and that's why I'm not sure if I'll post this one, because it's very personal and it's a very ongoing situation, and I choose to kind of fucking blame Karl for this, that I'm even thinking these things, but at the same time, it's not Karl's fault at all. It's very much like Karl just kind of set my feet at the starting line for this thought journey, and then I'm the one that chose to walk it, so can I really be too upset with her? But we will get into that, and then I'll listen back to this and I'll decide if I want to post it or not. But safe to say, I think Karl is right, and I hate that she is. And I'm going to text her that right now and say, yeah, update, recording now. Just sad. That's very accurate. Karl is right, and I hate that she is. Oh man, typing is fucking hard. It's not, but I'm just a little drunk, and this is off center. And you know, Karl was giving me shit the other day too, that I should, not giving me shit, but she was like, have you thought about changing the name of the podcast? And like, I have, because obviously it's not like fully representative of who I've become and kind of what the show is, because originally it was just going to be like me. I don't even remember the original idea, because I set it all up on, and this was back when it was Anchor, before it was like Spotify for podcasters or whatever, but because that's kind of what I do it through. I don't use Buzzsprout or Libsyn or any of that shit, and I'm thinking about kind of switching it over just because why not? But when I initially set up the show and like made the cover art that I love so much, the goat and everything, and like all that, it was way before therapy. Obviously, it was years before therapy, and I was still living with January and her parents, and like I figured it would just be me kind of doing this, like talking shit, but not this, because this is very much more introspective than I thought I would ever get kind of on a podcast. So yeah, like the name is not super reflective of like what the show is and kind of who I've become, but I really, really like the cover art. And at this point, like this is episode 27, I think. Is it? I can't even keep track anymore because the upload schedule is so fucked now, because I just have a hard time maintaining the show is very much at the whims of my now 16's out of order because I just re-uploaded it without editing it, so that's fucking annoying. Son of a bitch. Yeah, this will be 27. So I feel like it's kind of like too late to change the title, and I guess if I just change the title, it would just auto update the RSS feed, and then everybody would be very confused by this podcast in their podcast library with no idea where it came from. But because I was looking at the Apple Analytics for the first time today, I got a spam email. I don't know if it was real or not, but I haven't really looked at my Apple Analytics, and it turns out, just shock horror, a lot more people like the podcast on Apple Podcasts than they do on Spotify, which is not actually that surprising at all. Spotify is definitely not my preferred podcast listening platform, just because I don't know why. Because it's like the same experience as using Apple Podcasts. There's just something that feels wrong about using Spotify for podcasts. And maybe that's just like my old man brain remembering when they all used, I don't know. I don't know, audience, but a fair few of you do listen on Apple Podcasts, so I guess that outro is really not that applicable to you. And I guess I stopped mentioning reviews and ratings on on iTunes. So can I really be mad that you guys who listen on Apple Podcasts really don't engage that much when I stopped asking you to? Oh, that's a silly host of me. Maybe I should have an outro script so I just don't forget all this shit, because I bet you $1 because I didn't script this episode. I'm gonna definitely forget to put the email in the outro. So, and having said all that about Apple Podcasts and the ratings and reviews, I bet you $1 I forget to bring it up at the fucking very end. So, oh man. So, yes, we are in the hotel. We don't know if anybody's here. I don't really have any idea what's going on tomorrow, to tell you the truth. I'm just gonna show up to work and see who's there. Basically, I think it's just going to be me and spaghetti at this point. But big yawn. Excuse me. Good grief. This is ASMR. I guess this is just going to kind of be like the uncomfortable episode of things I want to talk about, but feel like I can't. Oh, sorry. This is a lot of background noise here. This is why I need a better stand solution. Fuck, this is what I get for buying the cheap one. This is going to kind of be the episode of like, here's some things I thought I normally would talk about on the podcast and just felt like I haven't been able to, because things are going well with Autumn, and Autumn has also said she may eventually listen to the podcast. So do I want to talk about it on there and then have her hear it, and it might be a problem down the line whenever she gets around to it. But at the same time, like, the podcast is for me, and it's my kind of, at this point, only therapy, because I'm not able to see Jelly right now. So, like I said at the beginning, like, if you're listening to this, obviously I decided to post it, but it'll kind of depend what I decide when I listen back to it tomorrow and this evening. But we might as well start with the big bad goose in the room. I I had been thinking about January, honestly, because we hadn't really talked since the exchanging of things, and that all got kind of wrapped up. And like, this still kind of like blows my fucking mind that she was able to end the relationship and walk away and then just basically like cut all contact with me. And to me, I'm like, well, that was a 9-year relationship, and it really seemed like you had no problem going no contact immediately. And I don't know. I guess that really kind of says a lot about like where her head was at the end there. And I'm not going to be too upset about it, obviously, because like we've talked about before, that is definitely not a relationship that I would be interested in going back to ever. So how upset about it can I really be? But I had been thinking about January, and then I saw some fucking meme on Instagram that I thought she'd think was funny, so I went to send it to her, and then I made the mistake of looking at her Instagram, and it turns out she's dating somebody new, which, again, I don't have a leg to stand on, because I've dated several new somebodies since the time we've split up. But I'm more annoyed that this, and not even annoyed, I'm just kind of miffed, because she spent all this time trying to start fights, it seemed like, and get me to accept her sexual identity and her gender identity and all these things. And like, I really, really thought eventually after we split up, she would kind of, because she did start going by non-binary pronouns and had decided to, maybe she didn't want to present as a woman anymore. And then I'm looking at her Instagram and she's basically dating the wish.com version of me, from what I can tell. Like, this dude looks exactly like me, except he outweighs me by about 80 pounds, it looks like. So I'm a little miffed that I had to sit there and listen to all this fucking gender bullshit and try and support her through finding herself, and then she just turns around and dates another redneck. So I ended up just kind of fucking blocking her on everything, and that's that about that, honestly, because I just don't, it's done, and I really don't have any interest. I was kind of walking down memory lane, being like, I wonder how she's doing. Like, maybe I'll text her and just see how things are going. And then I made the mistake of looking, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. And this really just reminded me of all the bad there was in that relationship. So I guess I don't need to really be thinking about her, and we'll just move right along. So that is... I can't even say that's like the last time we'll talk about January, because I'm sure more of the tragic backstory will get unlocked as we do more of the episodes. But for now, that's really the end of it. And you know what? While we're talking about elephants in the room, we might as well talk about the fucking elephant in the room that I've kind of danced around for the last 2 episodes, because, again, I'm scared Autumn is going to listen to this and it'll be problems. And do I worry it'll be problems because I think I'm doing something wrong? Or, I don't know. Well, fuck. I know some of what I think about this would be a problem, but we might as well address the giant elephant in the room while we're talking about elephants and geese in the room. After this short break with our regularly scheduled messages from our sponsors, of which there are none, so I'll see you mob in 2 seconds here. All right, and we are back. Oh, shock horror, I'm not ready. The monitoring's turned right down. Fuck me. Sorry, Autumn is encouraging me to make poor financial decisions and buy a new microphone, which would necessitate... Wow. I've only had 3 drinks. Which would necessitate buying a inline booster for it, because I don't know that the Focusrite can drive the Rode pod mic. I was watching a video about it, but I figured I'd finish the show. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So... that was cringe. The elephant in the room. I think we all know her name. It's April. And I've danced around this for the last 2 episodes, and fuck it. Let's just dive right in. Consequences be fucking damned. And I'm going to listen to this tomorrow and be like, don't do podcast drunk anymore, guy. So, last week, April, out of the blue, messages me and just says, she messaged me. Doesn't matter what she said. But it was very much, why are you messaging me? And why did you say what you said? And I pretty well asked her as much in a more roundabout, and I was drunk when I sent the response, shock horror, so she just didn't really respond well. But it ended when what I feel is yet another fucking argument. And I kind of hemmed and hawed about it a little bit, and I kind of came to the conclusion that, like, it's not fair to me that she keeps breezing in and out of my life, and it sets me back as much as it does when she comes back into my life. And I kind of stall out relationally whenever I whenever she messages me. And I really don't think that's fair, especially since I think she has a new partner. So how is that fair to me that I'm moving on and have a good thing growing here, and then as soon as I see her name on my phone, it's like I'm fully stalled out and fully like just jammed up thinking about her, and it really kind of is a speed bump in this new relationship I have with Autumn. So I kind of decided like this really isn't fair to me, and I feel like I've been pretty fucking clear for what I want from April right now, and that is honest, open communication. I want to talk about where her head is at and what she's thinking, and it just hasn't panned out that way. She just chooses, I feel like she just kind of chooses to ignore that I'm asking her that, and that's fine. We don't have to talk about it if she's not interested, but at the same time, this is kind of my line in the sand. I'm not really interested in, fighting with you. I want to have a genuine, honest conversation with you, and if that's not something you're interested in, well, then we're kind of at a rock and a hard place scenario here. And like, how long am I going to let you keep pulling me back in? Because this is kind of what Karl was talking about the other day when her and I were talking last week, in that as much as I feel that I'm ready to be dating again, the fact that April can send me one text message and I'm right away right back feeling like I was, is kind of proof to me that maybe I'm not as ready as I think I am. And I think Karl has intuitively kind of picked up on this, and that conversation that Karl and I had on Friday has really kind of stuck with me over the weekend, where it's like, is it fair that April and I are kind of exploring this new relationship, and, we're both putting the effort in. I definitely haven't stopped, but is it fair to April that... Is it fair to April? Fuck me. I did this on another episode too. I said April when I meant autumn, so fucking Freudian slip, but... Excuse me. Oh, crackers. Is it fair to Autumn that she could... There's a very real chance she could get hurt through no fault of her own, just because I'm fucked in the head about April still, as much as I wish I wasn't. So that kind of Karl has really kind of done my head in here, in that now all I can kind of think about is, am I going to inadvertently or unintentionally hurt Autumn, which is kind of the last thing I want. But April has just kind of fucking ruined me for dating a little bit. It's still, and I thought I was fucking past this. I really, really did. And I'm starting to do it again, where I'm like, this is very great. It's good. I am really enjoying the direction that this new relationship is heading. But there's a little voice in the back of my head that just says, but she's not April. She's not fucking April. And that's not fair to Autumn. And honestly, it's not fair to me, because it's my own fucking brain doing it to me. Shock horror. That joke we love so much, like, why would my own brain ruin my own day, bro? But at the same time, that's a very clear sign that, like, hey man, again, the universe is, and you are showing yourself like you are not fully over April, and you can hope that it'll happen just by kind of getting involved with someone new, and that'll be the catalyst to kind of finally get over her. But if that doesn't work, is that fair to the new person that you're dragging into your mess? And Karl's right. It is not. And Autumn definitely does not deserve to get hurt that way just because I can't fucking figure my shit out and I can't get over April. And I had a very long drive out to the town here today, and I spent a very long time on that drive thinking about April and why I just can't move past this. And I didn't really kind of come up with any good answer. And I still don't know why I can't, because in reality, like it was a 5-week relationship. And then it was 3 weeks of, we've talked about this, it was 3 weeks of just kind of shittiness. So why is 5 weeks with her something that I am just so fucking jammed up on and just cannot seem to let go of, and I just can't seem to move on? And and it really makes me wonder, like, was she the right one at the wrong time? And will there ever be a right time for her and I? Because that connection that we had was so strong initially. It really makes me wonder, like, is she always going to kind of be the one that got away, that I just kind of never get over, I just kind of ignore? And I wish I could tell you guys how she feels. I really, really wish she would take me up on this offer to come on the podcast, but she just really does not seem interested in having that conversation with me. And I'm kind of not interested in instigating any more conversations with her, just because it seems to every fucking time turn into an argument, and I don't want to fight with her. I want to I want to have a very real conversation with her, and it just doesn't seem to be possible right now. So I guess I kind of just need to be patient, or I just need to let her go and move on. And I can't. I don't know why I can't. I cannot let her go, and I'm still so fucked up about it, and it really, really upsets me. And like, and I don't know why. I don't know why a 4 to 5 week relationship has done me in like this. I genuinely don't have an answer. And I have theories that I probably won't expand too much on here. But yeah, I have theories about why it's fucked me up so bad. But we'll leave those in my brain, because they're kind of... That's not the point of this episode. It's just kind of to talk this out with myself and listen back to it and see if it's something worth posting and worth the drama and the hurt that it might cause Autumn. So regardless, I think I'll probably just send this one to Karl for some feedback. But so that 10-minute aside, April had messaged me, and it just turned into an argument again, and I actually got a little testy with her at the end, and she didn't reply. So I thought about it for a few days, and then, like I said at the start of this rant, like, it's really not fair to me that she still has this much power over me, and that I let her have this power over me. So when I was out here last week, I that was the one time I set the podcast shit up, is I pulled it all out to record a little note for her, and it basically boiled down to like here's where my head's at. I think you know this, and I can't keep doing this dance. I can't keep hoping that you're going to realize that you want to come back and that you miss me and that all this shit. Like, I just can't do this anymore, because I'm tired of feeling this way, and I'm tired of missing you so fucking much, and I'm tired of not knowing. Like, I just kind of have to come to terms with the fact that I don't know, and I'm probably never gonna know. So I kind of wrote that out and succinctly in a little voice note, and I fired it off to her, and it basically ends with like, or it ends or starts, is somewhere in there I say, like, for now, I think what I need is a temporarily permanent goodbye. And that is kind of what I've done, in that I sent this voice note off to her, and then as soon as it showed delivered, like, I blocked her number and I blocked her on Snapchat, because being able to see where she was and see her watching my stories and stuff was really, really fucking my head up again. And I was getting back into the cat and mouse game where I'm posting shit just to see if it'll provoke a response from her. And like, that's not fair to her, and that's not fair to me to have to be investing all this like fucking mental energy in this game of cat and mouse that I don't even know if she gives a fuck about. And I still don't know why she was so interested in my stories. Like, I still kind of half think it was just her seeing how my life is going, just so she can, I don't know, be happy with her life at how shitty mine is going. Maybe, I don't know. And again, we come back to like, I really, I guess, didn't know her as well as I thought I did, because I can't even begin to guess what she's thinking or where her head's at. And it really fucking sucks. But, and like, I didn't fully cut off communication, obviously, but at the same time, I know that if she listened to that voice note, she's going to walk away from it not very, but maybe she's going to walk away from it angry or relieved, one of the two. So while I have blocked her on pretty well everything, like, there are methods of communication for her if she wants to get in touch. Like, she knows the podcast email, and she knows my email because I sent her something once upon a time. So if she really, really wanted to talk, all she would have to do is send me an email, and I would be more than willing to engage in that. Which, again, should I be with somebody when that thought is in my head, where I'm definitely willing to re-engage with an ex. So, and I don't know if she still listens to the podcast, to tell you the truth, because I used to post the descriptions on Snapchat, and half the time she was the first one to watch it. And then I would check the analytics about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, and there would be one play that wasn't me. So the only thing I can think of is it's either her or it's some listener I don't know about, because Karl doesn't generally listen till later in the day, especially if I put him out on a weekday. She waits till she's home from work, and then I'll randomly get a text in the middle of the afternoon being like, bro, what the fuck? So, but yeah, that's kind of what I've been noodling around here, is like, I'm really, really enjoying where this relationship with Autumn is going, but at the same time, I can't help but have in the back of my head that, like, I am gonna maybe inadvertently hurt her because I can't get over a fucking 5-week relationship. And Jilly is gonna be so fucking disappointed. She'll be proud of me probably for like cutting contact and realizing that I was just kind of letting myself get put back on the hook and kind of just waiting around, and that's not something I'm interested in. Like, I feel like I cannot be any more clear, especially in this like little goodbye note that I voiced, this little goodbye voice note that I sent to her. I feel like I was pretty straightforward in that I was like, look, if you want to have an open, honest conversation about where your head's at and how you're feeling, I am always up for that, because that's all I've ever wanted. But I have noticed the last couple times that we just can't seem to talk to each other without it turning into a fucking argument and one of us getting pissed off. So I'm really, really not interested in fighting with you, because I spent too much time feeling negatively about you when we were together, and I don't want to feel that way about you anymore. I want to feel positive, happy thoughts about you, is kind of fucking rah-rah in inner strength that is like, I'm not interested in it, because I've said my piece about the negative things, and I just want to either move on or move forward. And we said it in another podcast. Like, I've said it on more than one show that I'm choosing to move on and I'm a big, strong man and blah, blah, blah. And this is me turning a new leaf. And the reality is it's not any of that. It's the only option that I see, because April is not willing to engage in a conversation with me. So I just kind of am left to assume that, like, she's moved on and has a new partner and is happy in her new relationship. So I should probably do the same. And then she messages me and I feel like there's hope again. So I really do it to myself. I know I do. And like, this is where therapy's working, where I'm like, I can identify that this is destructive kind of behavior. And that's why I sent her the voice note and then blocked her, because I was like, look, I'm not willing to engage in this anymore. I've been very clear at this point. Like, this is what I'm looking for. If you want to stay in communication with me, and if you're not willing to have that conversation and you're not willing to go there with me, then there's really no need for us to be talking until you are, or until I move on. And I can't decide what I want. I can't decide if I'm looking forward to the day that I can come on here and tell you guys that, like, I got over it. And I didn't even realize it, because I kind of want that. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I want to hold out hope. I want to believe that she was the right one at the wrong time. And there is hope. But I am just tired of playing the fucking guessing game and not knowing. So for my own sanity, I chose to remove myself from that equation. And again, the door is not shut. Like, I don't know if she still listened to these, but April, if you do listen, like, I'm sure you're still fucking mad at me for sending that, especially because I think I know what you had going on that day. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of feel like a dickhead for sending it when I did. But to April, like, there are lines of communication if you want to get in touch with me. And you know them. I laid them out in the voice note there, and I did here too. You know the podcast email, and you know my email. So while I would always love to hear from you and love to see you write me and say, okay, well, let's have this conversation that you want to have so fucking badly, I also don't expect it at all. I don't expect to ever get that email. So I don't know. For now, April just kind of will stay blocked, and then at some point I'll unblock her maybe, and then we'll just see if she thinks about me and sends me anything. But that was kind of why I didn't want to talk about it, because that was definitely almost 20 odd minutes about April and how much I miss her, basically. So this is probably what Karl is talking about when she says hurt people, and it's really not fair to any new woman in my life to be involved with me not knowing all this shit. And it's a lie, no matter how you look at it. It's a lie of omission, basically, when I'm saying I'm leading with January because that's the big scary number, and then quietly as an asterisk being like, yeah, I had another relationship after January, but it was only a month. But that's a lie of omission for not obvious reasons. So I can't, and you think I would be mad at Karl for getting in my head and kind of tying me up in knots about this, but I wouldn't get tied up in knots if it wasn't something that I was already worried about. So we are not mad at Karl. Definitely not. She's just calling me on the mats for my bullshit. So how mad can I really be at her for that when she's trying to look out for me and also this other person involved in this situation who has no idea that she's getting involved with somebody so fucking damaged. So I don't know. I just don't know podcasts what to do. I know what to do here, and I just don't want to do it because she's a good little egg on him, and I really like where it's going. But at the same time, it's not fair to her, and I don't want to hurt her, and I don't want her to get hurt. So as much as I wish Karl wasn't right, Karl is very much right. So And that was all very horrible and depressing. And I'm looking at my phone here, and I have a feeling I have 3 messages from Karl. So Karl, jeez. Oh man. And now I feel bad for talking about Karl so much in the last episode and briefly in this episode because okay. So Karl, I'm just reading these messages you sent me. I don't intentionally try and make it sound like you're my wife of 25 years. And I don't know if that's in reference to this conversation we're having or if you listening to the episode from the other day. But yes, Karl, thank you, Karl, for being the conscience that I can't ignore. So yeah, if there's really any developments in this kind of, obviously I'll keep you guys in the loop because the podcast is my place to noodle this shit out. And that's why it's kind of been frustrating me because I'm like, okay, well, I gave Autumn the podcast, but also I need to talk about this stuff and kind of work it out verbally. And this is kind of a way to structure it so that I can kind of think of it in a different way. But it's hard to do that when my prospective romantic partner is going to listen to it. So I don't know. It's really not fair to anybody, and it's bad timing, and it's kind of disingenuous of me to think that I was, you know what, I thought I was ready. I really did. I thought that I'd moved on, and all it took was one message to show me that I kind of hadn't. So this all around sucks for everyone, and yeah, just kind of a bummer ending to this one. Sorry, guys. I'm fully into the piss now, and it's past my bedtime, and I don't know. There's no real happy ending, because this is really what I wanted to yarn about, is this situation with April and Autumn. So, I don't know. I almost have hope that April still listens to these, just because I'm curious if she's curious about my life. I really am. But, yeah, I've said all I needed to say on that, and I feel like I couldn't be any more clear. So for now, I guess I just kind of got to spend some time thinking to myself, like, what are we going to do here? What are the options? What are the consequences? And how do I go about this while trying to cause the least amount of damage? So shitty all around. Hopefully they perk up as the week goes on, because this was not terrible to record. I thought my back would give out, honestly, before I got a full episode in the bag, but she's holding up just fine in this sad little chair. So, end of the episode housekeeping. Did you know the podcast has an email? It is dumbereveryday42@gmail.com. Name of the show, 42 no spaces @gmail.com. And the words no spaces are not in there. It just means there's no spaces between the words and the numbers before @gmail.com. I feel like I should not have to spell that out for people, and yet I still get concerned. I said it on the last episode, and I thought, I wonder how many people are sending emails to dumbereveryday42 no spaces @gmail.com. So just to really clarify, and it'll be in the show notes if I remember. But, and then again, just because so many of you seem to, not so many, but there's more people coming from Apple Podcasts than I expected. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, would you would you mind taking the second and throwing the podcast a rating and a review? Whatever you feel is fair. I'm not going to fight you for 5 fucking stars. Just, apparently it helps. Don't ask me how. I'm not at that stage yet, but might as well get the ball rolling early with the fucking 8 listeners I do have. So other than that, the usual shit. Like if you listen on Spotify and go to the episode page at the very bottom, there is the Q&A section. If you have anything you'd like to tell me, ask me, or let me know, feel free to throw it in there if you don't want to send it on the email. And again, if you're struggling with something and just need to talk about it, like, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to chat with anyone about anything. And even if you just write the email out and don't send it, you might find that it helps just to write it all down. So you are not alone, and I am more than willing to chat with anyone about anything. So just keep that in mind. You are not alone. Other than that, I hope you mob are having a great morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Hooroo.